This morning at a church in the Back Bay, local leaders spoke out against new deportations of unauthorized immigrants. The deportations have been ordered by President Obama despite opposition from Democrats in Congress. Many of the immigrants deported have been sent back to Central America. Local advocates are also responding by trying to make sure immigrants know their rights.
Me siento como defraudada.
I am really afraid. I am deeply sad with what's going on right now. I have to sit with my kids and tell them if something happened, we need to be prepared for this. My dad always say, what is going to happen if immigration come for you? You're going to be next, Mom? It is really sad of what's going on right now, and the government should focus on something different.
Raids that terrorize the community and separate families, tactics of waking up sleeping children and taking away both parents and children are not the answer. To employ inhumane tactics involving rounding up and deporting tens of thousands of families who are running away from violence, it's not the answer to address the crisis. Such crises require compassion and humane solution.
We came here because we want to have a better life. And why they want to send us back to Guatemala? You know, and even my children, you know, the citizen. But they also talked to me and said, Mom, they're not going to deport you, do you? I mean, it's awful.
I believe that deporting someone back to their country of origin when they fled violence and persecution is tantamount to a death sentence. And for that reason, I believe that we need to stand against the threat of massive deportations. We need compassion, but we also need immigration law reform.
To tell us more about the response to the new series of deportations is our guest, a field organizer for the Massachusetts Immigrant and Refugee Advocacy Coalition, or MIRA. We'd like to welcome Thalita Dias. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
First of all, talk about what is going on here with these removals or deportations. Is this really new from what's been happening all the time?
Yes, so what happened is that over the holidays we received this announcement from the Department of Homeland Security that they would target now families, especially mother and children who came to the United States since 2014 and have a final order of deportation. So deportation, has been going on for a while. We all know that. But what's new here is just the target, who is being targeted right now.
I know anybody who does not have legal status is going to be concerned about their
Exactly.
future. But how are people in the community, the immigrant community, reacting to this?
Yes. The first days of the year where this was supposed to start, there was like fear and people were afraid, people were not leaving their house, not going to work. But we start getting the word around about what was really happening and that people shouldn't be that afraid. But this should only affect those who have a final order of removal, deportation order. But of course, if the immigration police comes to a house, apartment building, and there happen to be other people there who are undocumented, that's a problem, right? So of course the community has to know their rights and know what's going on. There is no need for this fear of leaving their houses or not going anywhere, but they should just know their rights and know what's going on so they can get prepared.
Talk about those rights, especially if you do not have some kind of legal status and some agent knocks on the door. Well, what are your rights?
Well, the first thing, you don't have to open the door. In fact, you should not open the door. They can only arrest you if they have a warrant signed by a judge. So the first thing is to make sure that they have their warrant and that's signed by a judge. Otherwise, they can't arrest you. So we tell people that, ask the agent to slip the warrant under the door. Don't open the door or a window or something so you can see if your name is on the warrant and if it's signed by a judge. Otherwise, they cannot arrest you. You're also you don't have to say anything. You can say, I want to remain silent, and you can contact my lawyer. You can give like a card with a lawyer number, but you don't have to say anything. You don't have to open your door. You don't have to say your name. And one important thing, never lie. never give a fake document. And we also tell people, don't walk around if you're undocumented with documents from your country of origin, because in case the immigration police get those, now all of a sudden they know for sure that you're not from here. So this is something that we want them to figure out. We don't want to give those clues, right? So.
What about the kinds of people who are coming here? Tell me what you know about why they come here and what they're like.
Sure. So last year, the population that is being targeted of this raids are people from Central America, especially Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. We know that those countries are amongst the most violent countries in the world and are facing a very, very hard and critical time right now. So those are mothers, those are women and kids who are fleeing a very tough situation there, violence. We heard about like boys that when they turn 13, they are immediately recruited by gang members, and it's such a sad birthday for them. But 13 is like a death penalty for boys, and we know like they are facing this kind of problems, like kids being recruited at schools, even by teachers, to be part of this gang. So they are just fleeing as anyone else would, a situation of extreme violence, and they are seeking relief here in the United States, not only in the U.S., they are also seeking asylum in other countries as well, but many of them are trying to come to the U.S.
Well, one of the central things about immigration law is we don't want people coming in without authorization, but at the same time, if they're fleeing persecution, now I don't know if you call this persecution, but it's scary. What about the odds to make the case for needing to be here?
Exactly. So we know that at least 80% of these immigrants that came starting in 2014, they were coming for a while, but 2014 was the year that there was a big wave. We know that at least 80% of them have a valid case for asylum, so they could ask to stay, to get permission to stay and get proper documentation. But the thing is, you need a lawyer, you need legal representation, and sometimes it's hard. So when you get across the border, many of them don't even try to flee. They cross the border, first thing they see a border patrol, I'm here, please help me, and that's what we're hearing. And they get an order to appear in front of a court, in front of a judge, and they don't know, because they don't know, they don't speak the language, it's like you're in another country, you don't know what the document means. So there is a great need for legal representation, so they can make the case that they need asylum, that they need to get protection to stay here. And one thing that we're asking for and that we are advocating for is for a temporary protection status. It's something that is already granted for like Cubans or Haitians, some people from some countries that were facing some kind of difficult situation. So these people could apply for that and get work authorization and authorization to stay in the U.S. That would be a great solution that we are advocating for.
I guess another concern of immigrants without legal status is that you get involved in a process and you have to go by the rules to at least minimize the chances of something bad happening. And you're getting instructions in English, and that's not your first language. How do you help people make sure they get that information straight?
Yeah, it's very confusing. So what we are doing now, we are trying to get this information out in in the language that people speak. In Spanish, we have many organizations that offer that information in Spanish and other languages when needed. But that's a challenge, and it was a challenge specifically in this situation, because you're not talking only about people that don't speak English, of course, because they're coming from another country, but also children. How do you expect a 6-year-old, even if it's an American, to appear in front of a judge and make the case that he can stay or she can stay? So it's not only a matter of language, but also there is a great need of legal representation, because we're talking about children, right? So there are many organizations that are offering this kind of legal services, and for those who are curious or think they are in need of those services, they can visit our website, www.miracoalition.org, and we can certainly help to find help for them.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
From MIRA, Thalita Dias.